Let's talk about public speaking. For a lot of us, just hearing those words can stir up some serious anxiety. But what if? What if you could actually turn that fear into your single biggest professional advantage? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're laying out the complete roadmap, from the absolute basics all the way to the expert level stuff that makes ideas totally unforgettable. And listen, the stakes, they could not be higher. The late, great MIT professor Patrick Winston just nailed it with this quote. His whole point was that your ability to speak isn't just some soft skill. No, it's the main thing that determines your success. He even put it ahead of the quality of your ideas. And why is that? Well, think about it. A truly brilliant idea that you can't communicate effectively, it might as well not even exist. So here's our map for this journey. We're going to start with the call to adventure, just to get our heads around why anyone, and I mean anyone, can get good at this. Then we'll look at the ancient blueprints left by the absolute masters. From there, we'll build our own practical toolkit, unlock the magic of storytelling, and then finally learn the secrets to making our ideas really, truly stick. Okay, let's dive into our first stop on the journey. This is where we need to tackle the biggest myth about public speaking and rock in the one principle that really empowers every great speaker out there. This right here, this is Professor Winston's core idea, and honestly, it's fantastic news for all of us. He basically argued that being a great speaker is all about knowledge plus practice. Inherent talent, yeah, it's a tiny, tiny part of the equation. He told this great story about watching a world-class Olympic gymnast who was, a total beginner at skiing and just struggling down the slope. And he realized, hey, I'm a better skier than her, not because he had more talent, but because he had the knowledge and he'd put in the practice. The takeaway here is so powerful. Great speaking is a skill you build, not a gift you're born with. All right, so now that we know great speaking is something we can all achieve, it's time to get our map. And we're getting it from the mentors who figured this all out more than 2,000 years ago. We're talking about the ancient Greek and Roman masters of rhetoric. First up is ethos. You got to think of this as your foundation. Before anyone in your audience is going to care about what you say, they have to believe in you. Ethos is all about your credibility, your character. It's the reason they should trust you in the first place. You're showing them that you're a guide they can rely on. Next, we've got pathos. This is the appeal to emotion. And this is so crucial because you can have the most flawless logical argument in the world, but if you don't connect with your audience on an emotional level, that message just fizzles out. Always remember this. Logic makes people think, but it's emotion that gets them to actually act. And finally, there's logos. This is the logical backbone of your entire speech. It's that clear, rational, well-put-together argument that's built on solid evidence and reason. It's what convinces the thinking part of the brain. So ethos and pathos might open the door, but it's logos that walks your audience all the way through it. So the Roman orator Cicero gave us this incredibly detailed process with his 5 canons. And this isn't just some dusty old theory. It's a super practical, step-by-step assembly line for creating any speech. You start with invention, finding your arguments, then arrangement, organizing them so they make sense. Style is picking the right words. Memory is knowing your points inside and out. And finally, delivery. That's the actual performance. It's the whole shebang, from idea to execution. Okay, so we've got that ancient map in our hands. Now it's time to actually forge the practical tools, the stuff you can start using in your very next presentation. Every strong speech, and I don't care if it's a 5-minute update or a huge 1-hour keynote, is built on this simple skeleton. The intro grabs their attention and tells them where you're going. The body is where you deliver your main points. And notice this part. Keep it to just 3 to 5 points. Seriously, any more than that and you're going to lose people. And then the conclusion wraps it all up in a neat bow, reminding them of your core message. Patrick Winston also gave us these 4 brilliant little tricks for being crystal clear. First, cycle. Say your main point again and again, but in different ways. Because let's be real, at any given moment, somebody's mind is wandering. Second, build a fence around your idea. Tell people what it is, and just as important, what it is not. Third, use verbal punctuation. Little signposts like first or the next thing is to guide them. And finally, just ask a question. It's an instant way to pull everyone's attention right back to you. Okay, now what's so cool about this slide is how it perfectly shows Winston's rules for presentations. On the left, oh man, you have the slide crimes we have all sat through, right? Walls of text, tiny fonts, crazy backgrounds. This just makes your audience read instead of listening to you. But on the right, you've got good design, almost no text, tons of white space, big fonts.
The key thing here is to think of your slides as a condiment, not the main course. They're there to add a little flavor to what you're saying.
Let's move to the next level. Once you get the fundamentals down, storytelling is the thing that takes you from being a pretty good speaker to someone who's truly captivating.
Get ready for this number because it's kind of wild. Research shows that a fact wrapped up inside a story is up to 22 times more memorable than that exact same fact just stated on its own. 22 times. So if you want your message to stick, don't just say it. Tell a story about it.
And the science on this is just fascinating. It's something called neural coupling. When you're listening to a good story, your brain activity literally starts to sync up with, to mirror, the storyteller's brain. You're basically experiencing the events and the emotions right along with them. This creates this incredibly deep sense of connection and makes it so much easier to remember everything later. So what makes a story good? It's not totally random. There's actually a formula. A really impactful story needs these 5 things: a character people can relate to, some kind of conflict or challenge, a journey where something changes, a clear resolution, and then finally, a takeaway that ties that whole story back to your main point. And here we are, the final stage of our journey. This is all about making sure your message doesn't just get heard in the moment, but that it gets remembered, repeated, and even acted on long after you've stepped off the stage. So how do you package an idea to make it stick in someone's brain forever? Well, Patrick Winston gave us this killer framework he called Winston's Star. He said the most memorable ideas all have 5 things: a visual symbol, a catchy slogan, an element of surprise, one core salient idea that really stands out, and a great story that ties it all together. And this slide shows it in action perfectly. Winston himself explained that his PhD research in AI became famous because it accidentally hit all 5 points of his own star. It had a symbol, the physical arch. It had a slogan, one-shot learning. The surprise was that a computer could learn something from just a single example. The salient idea was this concept of a near miss, and he had a powerful story to explain how it all worked. He literally created a sticky idea before he even knew the formula for it. So, there you have it. We've journeyed all the way from the core belief that speaking is just a skill, through ancient wisdom and modern tools, and into the science of making ideas unforgettable. You now have the map, you have the tools, so I guess the only question left is this: what story are you going to tell first?